Hello and welcome to episode 91 of 15K Plus Random Movie Reviews, the podcast where we take a random movie from Metacritic's all-time movie list. This is Colin.
This is Niall.
And this is the first time ever we've had an episode where we have invited somebody to come along. Hello, John. How are you doing?
Hey, thank you for having me. We're excited to talk to you both.
Why did we invite you, I wonder? What's the connection here? We are reviewing A Christmas Story. We randomly picked it from our random Christmas list of movies. It's from 1983, runs for 1 hour and 34 minutes. It has a Metascore of 77 and a user score of 7.8. Had a budget of 3.3 million and a box office of 19.2 million. What's the connection between A Christmas Story and you, John?
Well, I am a lifelong Clevelander, and I live just minutes from the place where they filmed The Christmas Story, and I'm also known around town as a Cleveland historian.
Yeah, so you've got many accounts. Like, where can people find you, and what do you contribute to? I see obviously your posts on Facebook a lot. With you photograph the workers and the people from the public of Cleveland, and you get their story, and it's very interesting.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, trying to, I've been at the library, Cleveland Public Library, for 35 years. So my job is sort of archiving the history of the city there through, documents and media. And then on the side, I also work for a local magazine called Cleveland Magazine, where I highlight Clevelanders in my column, like Mr. Cleveland, every month.
Yeah, I saw that recent one. So A Christmas Story was released around 83. Were you aware of its existence in 83? What was you were quite young back then, I'm guessing, but did you see it in the cinema? When was the first time you saw it? Do you remember?
Yeah, I saw it pretty, it is a rite of passage for Clevelanders. You must see this film or there's trouble afoot. So I didn't see it in the theater. I was a little too young at that point. I was still, probably still watching animation or something. But I think I saw it around 88 was the first time, like years later. It's sort of the birth of, like crazy going with your family to VHS, Blockbuster, all that jazz to grab a film for the weekend.
I only recently maybe watched it maybe 10 years ago, which coincides with me meeting my current wife, your sister. And I wasn't expecting much from it, to be honest with you. And I'll ask Niall in a second, but this is not a movie we knew about in Ireland. This is not a staple movie that Irish people watch. We've got the general Scrooge, Christmas Carol, other stuff. Die Hard, I guess, would be more
always Die Hard
current one. Yeah, and but I was pleasantly surprised the first time I watched it, and I think it's just got better every time I've watched it. And I'll get to that later, like what has grown a bit in my fondness of it. So Niall, you hadn't watched it before. You watched it today. You can not like it if you want. It's not a big deal.
That's a good statement, because I'm going to be honest and say the way you built it up for me, Colin, you built it up too much. It wasn't a terrible movie by any measure. I was expecting it to be more layered, more multi, for kids and for adults as well. But I think it was more for kids. So I think I'm really missing out on the nostalgia elements of it. I would imagine if I'd watched this as a kid and then watching it as an adult, that would make a massive difference. I think it's similar to Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I loved that movie as an adult, but watched it as a kid. A friend of mine has only watched it as a grown woman, and she's like, nah, it's garbage. So I think sometimes watching it as you advance in age kind of diminishes the value. So I think that might be the case for me, I'm afraid. Sorry.
So John, but that theory doesn't work for me because I didn't grow up watching it.
True.
But John, what do you think? Like, it's obviously a very simple movie. There's no real sort of nuance to the storyline. Yeah. Do you think
I think we should get into that, as a person who's seen it many times and try not to read too much. I think there is a little bit in there, we can probably talk about, when we go into some of the scenes, but there are a lot of people in Cleveland who are like, oh, I can't deal with that film. I just don't get it. So I don't think you're alone. My son just broke my heart too. He's like, I do not care about that film.
Right, that makes me feel better. Sorry.
He told me, he's been to visit the Christmas Story house, and there's a pub across the street from there, so I think that's more appealing than the visit to the house for him. But um, it's I guess it's not quite polarizing film because it is sweet in nature, but
It is,
yeah, it doesn't hit everyone the same way. The way it's filmed maybe kind of rubs some people the wrong way, the datedness of it or the voiceover. But yeah, you're up there.
So yeah, so let's talk about the two sort of real physical connections then to Cleveland. We obviously have their home, and we also have Higbee's, was it? So tell us about the home first. Where is it? What's its history now? I know now it's a museum, and I've been to Cleveland many times, but nobody has ever taken me there. I wonder why. Uh, so I see on Google Street View there's a museum across the road. They also have a Bumpus's house next door to it. No
Really?
dogs running around though. So I think I read it was bought recently or something, or maybe 20 years ago. 2004 seems recent to me. So what's the history of the house and its sort of purchasing history, and how it came to be a tourist attraction? And was it a tourist attraction before he purchased it, this guy?
Yeah, I think so. For those that was a little bit more of the hardcore fans when it finally did come up, as you said, about 20 years ago for a sale. A fan did purchase it and spend a lot of his money to kind of retrofit it to look a lot. Get the leg lamp in the window and do some work to invite people to stay there. I think Tremont is very close to where I live. It's this kind of gritty area. I know that the filmmaker Bob Clark was looking for an area kind of that would fit sort of that Midwestern Rust Belt winter Christmas, and it just checks so many boxes. I don't know if either one of you have ever seen The Deer Hunter. I don't think you've done that one yet, have you? But that was also filmed in the same area as this, and you can kind of see not quite the same film, but the visual choices for Cinema, the director of that Deer Hunter, and this, you can see why it has a certain flavor to it, the neighborhood. So I know that the house went up as a museum about 20 years ago. It was resold about 5 or 6 years ago to someone who had worked there for a long time, and he's been doing well. I think they used to do a 5K from the house. They do a lot of special events. So they're continuing to kind of promote it, look for new ways to bring in new, as the film ages, you don't have a lot of the younger people, outside of Cleveland. So
I see you can actually stay the night in it. There's the bedrooms. It's all done up just like the Google Street View goes inside it. I think they've done their own like inside Google cameras, so you can stay inside it, right?
Well, you'll see your next visit home. We'll go
That's where you'll be staying.
Yeah.
And so then another major real location is Higbee's. That's a casino now, right?
Yeah. Now there, I know you have been.
I have been there. Lost my shirt there once.
So yeah, it's kind of this amazing. It's sort of the beacon of the city of Cleveland. It's the was at one time the tallest building in the world, the Terminal Tower, one of the top 3 tallest buildings. As just a great mecca of shopping, kind of from the 1930s through the 1980s, when the city changed a lot. And Higbee's was renowned for their windows and their displays and their Christmas attractions. So people from all over the Midwest knew about this. So it was really cool to see that in the film captured. It's kind of like a timepiece. I know the film is sort of kind of takes place in the late 30s or 40s. They never quite really say, but they do a great job. And Higbee's was right downtown. And of course, like you said, now they have a couple Christmas Story slot machines in there, I've noticed. That's about it.
It became another department store after Higbee's. I seem to read, and then
it was called Dillard's for a long time.
Dillard's.
Yeah, they were sort of the umbrella parent company that took over Higbee's, and May Company was another big one down there in Cleveland.
And so then, not to get into city planning or anything, but the department store, they decided, casino,
Yeah, it sat empty for a while. So I think civic leaders were debating, like, you have this amazing plot of land where a lot of people come through, transportation hub, and if you want to have a lot of people lose most of their money instead of Higbee's, why not have a casino?
That's can I just chuck a question in there? Speaking of city planning, but I thought in most U.S. states it was illegal to have a casino from unless it's on Indian land or Vegas.
Yeah, I think that's changed a lot over the last quarter century. You see them popping up like everywhere, up to grocery stores now. And I don't know if it's fantasy football that changed the the game here, but it seems like there's so many more options to do. I think Europe and UK, you guys were way ahead of this online gambling, but it exploded over here, especially in Ohio where I live, a lot in the last 3 years.
I'm not saying it's a good thing either, though.
Right.
Certainly isn't.
Easy
Yeah.
access, they wasting all your money in about 10 minutes is probably not the
Yeah.
best thing on the planet.
All I remember is going there once, and I only had my Singapore ID on me, and it took them like half an hour to figure out what it was. I was like, what the hell is this? What
Right.
planet is this ID from? But they let me in to waste my money. That was
Of
fine.
course.
Yeah. Just for a little background, I read up about people in the background of this, like Bob Clark. He wasn't from Ohio. He just sent out many, like I think it was just a crapshoot casino reference that they picked Cleveland for some of these external shots because they sent them far and wide. Then a lot of other external shots were filmed in Canada.
Yeah.
So I think it's just the home and Higbee's is the two main Cleveland connections. But Bob Clark, it was interesting. Like, this is released in '83. In '74, he had a horror movie called Black Christmas, which I've never watched. Have you watched that, John?
Yeah, it's excellent. Yeah, it's a really kind of
Really?
underground cult. I mean, he is. I don't know if his filmography is really something.
Yeah. So he's Porky's in '81, and Porky's
Just like
2.
this movie, yeah.
Yeah, he's got and then I think after A Christmas Story, it just really goes weird, and low lights are Baby Geniuses in '99.
How
And
dare
his
you?
last, sorry, it's a personal favorite of yours. Oh yeah, right.
I prefer the Karate Dog. It's way better, man.
Karate Dog. I think his last movie was Blonde and Blonder with Pamela Anderson and Denise Richards.
Oh, God.
So that was his last sort of.
I know what
I think that's a reason to stop.
I watched the trailer of it today. It's as bad as you would expect.
Right.
So Gene Shepherd, basically, I don't know if you know much about his biography, John, but basically this film is based on a bunch of his short stories, and not just one tome, but a couple of different tomes, and he had them published in Playboy, and he based it around his own memoirs, but it was this fictional Parker family, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, we have Peter Billingsley playing Ralphie, we have Ian Petrella playing Randy, we have Melinda Dillon playing Mother Parker, who was in Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
He's good in that, yeah.
Yeah, really good. And then she really recently died, actually. And Darren McGavin, I think it is.
McGavin,
yeah.
The old man.
The old man. Who basically, after watching it today, if it wasn't him, I might not like this movie as much because his nuanced expressions to everything that's wholesome is just amazing. I just love
I enjoy his grouchy behavior and his the expressions on his face actually lift this movie for me. It's just this mild annoyance at everything.
It's hard to picture. So, the Bob Clark and Peter, behind the scenes, they've talked. It was they were trying to get Jack Nicholson, but they couldn't afford him, I guess. So that would have been.
I'm glad they didn't. That would have been a menacing sort of side to it, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I read that, and I think Bob Clark didn't know that Jack Nicholson was keen on it, and he found out later, and he said, "No, Darren was the best choice." So we do start off the movie in Higbee's, pretty much. No, actually, we don't. We have a little Cleveland Street external shot of the actual real house and neighborhood. We do have the window scene of Higbee's where the mechanized joy is displayed as as Ralphie says, and we have the Red Ryder air rifle, which becomes a central motif, and
absolutely central. Yeah,
pretty much the theme of the movie, and that's probably why you don't like it that much, Niall, because it's just about a boy wanting a BB gun for the entire movie.
I have no problem with that concept. Actually, that's one part I can get behind.
But it's kind of the quest to kind of besides just the coming of age, and he's trying to get that, and throughout the whole film he just keeps on telling everybody except for the old man, who eventually
No, he plays it kind of smart, the kid. He doesn't show his cards too easily.
Well, do you think that him putting the advertisement for the BB gun worked in the end into his wife's, mum's magazine?
Yeah, so I think the dad was listening, even though he's grumpy in the background. He does hear things, so it's a nice touch. I like the fact that it was the dad who produces the BB gun, and not the mum. So while he is a grumpy effer, he does care, and he is listening in the background. So, and I like the way that I won't get into the spoilers of what we're going to talk about later, but I like that the warnings that are provided by many people comes true.
It's mentioned a lot. Just a couple of things I wanted to note from the window scene in Higby's. Obviously, it's very nice and Christmassy, but I like two things. I like Ralphie mouthing the speech bubble of Red Ryder, just mumbling to himself or trying to read it out loud. And I like Randy's pig nose at the window as well. It sort of preempts his entire story arc throughout the entire movie. It's just his way of doing things.
Foreshadowing
his behavior. So we get an introduction to old man and Mother Parker quite quickly into the next scene, and I had to look this up. So he was like, they traded Bulldog. It was a real player. I don't know if you've researched into these little nuances of the script over the years.
Right. Yeah, I always do that. Especially because I think the dad was a Chicago fan, though. I think more so. Yeah. White Sox and then the Bears.
And then the Bears. Yeah. So I think he's saying a lot of stuff that's negative and he's peed off with, and the mum's just gone, that's nice, and his facial reaction is just so he does have, we get this sort of introduction to his ongoing fight with the furnace, which happens throughout the entire movie. We have it introduced here, and then this is obviously the first time that Ralphie brings up the BB gun and sort of tries to do a direct route to the mum, and this is the first time we hear, you'll shoot your eye out. And it's kind of funny when certain people say it throughout the movie. I kind of like the fact that it's brought up as a theme throughout. Randy is an interesting character. Niall, what did you make of the Randy character throughout the movie, and just how he plays off against every other character?
Randy's one of the parts that I didn't like, if I'm honest. I think he's a bit too OTT. He's over the top. He's overly comedic. Now, it's nothing offensive, nothing that annoys me that much. It's just a little bit too on the nose, if you will. But then it is a kids' movie, so maybe I'm being harsh, a bit too critical.
There's a couple of the pig eating scene is a bit weird. I don't know, John, you've seen it probably 50 times, the movie.
I like the pig eating scene, if I'm honest, because I've got kids, and if you can get them to eat at times, that works. I'm okay with that bit.
It's as a person who had little kids, and getting them ready to throw them out in the snow, this scene of him not putting his arms down was pretty. I do like that scene.
Yeah,
I guess it doesn't hit for me because, if you look at the weather in Ireland, it never bloody snows, so it's not something we have to deal with, unfortunately.
We're in a frozen tundra here. So.
Yeah.
No, I do like the can't put his arms down scene. I thought that's quite good, and just wrapping the scarf around his head like a mummy. It's just over the top, but I thought it was quite quite funny. He does have his first daydream before the coat scene, which is sort of happens a couple of times through the movie, and yeah, it reads a little weird, the daydream scene, because it's just, I don't know, it's like they're sped up, the burglars, and it's just a bit sort of, it's quite funny because his family play up to the Wild West characters hiding under the table, and they're playing their Wild West characters quite funnily. But I don't know. I don't know the power of that scene for me still after watching it 3 times.
I think to me, like I've watched a lot of 30s and 40s films, and I think Clark was kind of playing on that motif a little, like the sopped and sped up like kind of sequences when he goes back, and when I think that one actually was shot in Cleveland too, when he's shooting the bandits in the backyard there. So
that's from the house, the backyard of the house.
That is the back, yeah. So the exterior was shot in Cleveland. I think the interior was, not in that.
Yeah, the way it was sped up reminded me of an old Buster Keating movie or something like that.
I think
the
that's
car chase, one of those, where it's all a bit comedic because of that fact.
And they do that with the bullying, chasing scenes throughout the movie as well. It's just to the background of some classical, sort of sped up classical music or things like that. We do have the... he does go down to the furnace for the first time, and I read that he ad-libbed all his sort of made-up words because he wanted to keep it PG, Darren McGavin. And so I like his weird made-up expletives that aren't expletives. But it's really funny, the run-on on words that he does. We do have the sort of the school intermission scenes where we have Miss Shields, who, the classroom scenes, yeah, they sort of add a bit of backbone and character to Ralphie's sort of frame of mind regarding his quest for the BB gun. I like obviously, I think the coat scene and the tongue stuck to the metal pole scene are quite famous scenes, and I quite like the way that they intersperse the narration, telling them the mechanics of a double dog dare and a triple dog dare, and how he skipped over the triple dare and just went straight to the triple dog dare, and he went full sort of Dumb and Dumber with his tongue to the pole. But I'm guessing that was done in Canada, right? That scene.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's. Yeah, we would have probably bronzed the pole here if that would have. Yeah, that would have done.
Yeah. I think they have made some sort of.
There is some kind of statue somewhere of Flick. Yeah, like
licking the pole. Is there?
Yeah, I think it's in, I think it's in where. Yeah, I forget where, but there is some kind of little statue to commemorate that somewhere, maybe Indiana or something.
Yeah, I think it's Indiana. I think it is. Yeah, for sure.
I googled this scene specifically because I thought it's somewhat cruel on a child to make them lick a post and have their tongue stuck to it. So I was making sure that wasn't actually done. So they achieved it by drilling a hole in the pole and having a suction pipe put in to stick his tongue to it, so they could switch it off whenever they wanted. Because otherwise, it felt, oh god.
Yeah, it looked.
Thankfully,
really...
they didn't actually do that.
It looked real. It looked good.
It did look very real. Yeah,
really good for a low budget film. They did some pretty cool things.
Yeah, it looked better than Dumb and Dumber.
Dumb and Dumber, yeah. Rubber.
He's stretching it. Yeah. We do have a introduction of Scott Farkas and Grover Dill on the way home here. Their first introduction, which plays a part later on. I like the voiceover when he says Randy lay there like a slug. I just sort of found that funny.
That was his best defense, I think, was the next phrase that came after that. It's a good move. Just lie there and hope nobody notices you.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about Farkas is he swears his eyes were yellow. I always like that.
Yeah.
And he's Grover Dill, I think his teeth were green or something was the description. But all they do is really just yell at them. They don't really sort of. They're not.
I think he ram his arm behind his back until he shouts "Uncle."
Uncle was Uncle some sort of that wasn't around in the 80s when you were growing up.
It was, yeah. It's still.
Oh,
yeah.
it was.
Yeah, still, yeah. That's like a thing you would get someone in a headlock, or you make someone say "Uncle" until they submit. Yeah.
Well, I would contend that Colin here hasn't had the proper Cleveland experience because it hasn't been done to him yet because he doesn't know the rules. So next time he's there, we have to make sure that happens.
There's always time.
Yeah. I think I remember in Ireland it was mercy. We had to say mercy.
Mercy, yeah.
So similar, same rules, same cruelty.
Just as cruel, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, old man comes back proclaiming he won, and it's the first time we see the dogs as well, from the Bumpus's dogs as well, which I always find are very funny. Even they don't really do anything. They're just lumpy shapes of annoyances to him. I just find them kind of funny as a tool.
My favorite part of the hounds is when he's so delighted he sticks his leg out and goes, "Go on, have a chew."
Yeah, true. Yeah, and that's actually funny, even though it's sort of cruelty to animals, whatever. When the hound's
the ear
gets stuck in the door, it's sort of, then he lets him out, but whatever. Yeah, he's all elated that he actually won something, and maybe it feels like it's his first victory in life. The old man, maybe, I'm not sure.
Yeah. I think so, because early on he's doing the thing, and he's definitely. I think the father's a dreamer, just a little bit like Ralphie. You see the kind of the connection there. He's like, we could win, and she's. The mother, just in a very typical Midwestern, never sitting down, never having a moment. Just like, okay.
Yeah.
That's nice, dear. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. We do have the dinner scene where Randy pigs out, which Niall likes.
I love that scene because I'm going to use it.
But I love the way that Ralphie, and it probably mirrors what you're saying, John, Ralphie and the old man are they've a lot more in common than they might know. They're just looking at Randy eating it with looks of confusion.
Right.
Ralphie smiles a little bit, but the old man's just going, what the hell? Anyway, I'll just read the paper.
They say there's always one in each family a kid hasn't eaten ever 3 years or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so true. It's a very true line.
Yeah. I love the way when the door is knocked, he just looks around the family and goes, "It is here." And just jump up. And then it's another funny moment for me as well, is the delivery guy, the old man goes, "What is it?" He goes, "I don't know." And he goes, "What's in it?" And he just stares at him, a look of incredulity. It's like, that's just two questions the same way. Did you not laugh, Niall, at probably the one thing I found funny the first time, when he looks at the box when it's inside? When he looks at the word on the box.
Oh, when he mispronounces fragile, misreads fragile, and then the wife has to correct him.
I thought that's funny. The first time I saw that, I thought that was very.
I have to admit, most
strong.
of the interactions from the old man are actually quite funny.
Yeah,
so I like that. Yeah.
I liked when the narrator, when he actually takes it out and everything. I love the narrator just says, "The old man was overcome by art." It was just one of those lines. And so when he gets it all set up and the window and everything, the Swede neighbor John is.
That's Bob Clark.
That's Bob Clark.
Yeah, that's the director. Yeah.
I did not know that. Cool.
Yeah, there's a commemorative bench in Cleveland there for that scene.
Which is sort of pushing it a bit because they don't sit down or anything. It's just it's just general direction.
Well, maybe if they'd have benched, they might have sat down.
Yeah, but it feels like the old man doesn't really think much of the Swede.
Not much. Yeah.
No. The Swede is like in awe, kind of, though. Oh, he won something. He won this. We do get this sort of Little Orphan Annie sort of segue, that's sort of a little arc in the middle where Ralphie's sort of chasing up this sort of deciphering code that's going to be sent to him in the mail. I find the culmination of that to be quite funny and sort of
when he manages to get the decoder and decodes the message.
Yeah,
and he's told to buy more Ovaltine.
I can't help but think of Seinfeld when I hear Ovaltine. I got Ovaltine. It should be Roundtine. Yeah. We do get a lot of bullying, running from the bully, fast montages, and we get the going for the Christmas tree scene, which I think one of the I think the funny thing here is the bargaining, which I kind of find quite good in a sense. It's just sort of Ralphie in narration OV says, "Yeah, my old man was the best at bargaining," but he just said, "Yeah, I'll tie it to the roof for you." Deal.
Yeah, that's not much of a deal, really. It's just he'll put it on the roof. That's
a
it.
big. I think that's a big Midwestern haggling, and at the market. Is that more? Is that is that a part of trying to haggle for prices in Ireland? Was that part of growing up?
Not
nah. We don't haggle at all, really. We're too polite. We're like, yeah, whatever.
We're always trying to
pay the price, the label price.
Possible.
Yeah,
it's too awkward, I think. So, like, if you went to go for a real Christmas tree somewhere, would you haggle for that in Cleveland?
I have before over the years, for sure. Yeah.
Nice.
Did you ever settle my car?
Yeah, if to tie it to the roof of the car, you'd be okay with it not giving the discount on it.
Now I'm a little too old. Yeah, I was like, just pay.
Yeah. Yeah, they're before they leave for the Christmas tree though. There's a funny scene where she turns off the lamp and says, "I don't want to waste electricity," and every light in the house is on. So it's just she hates the lamp.
The beginning of the Battle of the Lamp.
The mom hates the lamp because it's weird. It's like a French tight lace lamp with a lampshade at the top.
She's not wrong. It's a leg with a light bulb in it.
I will interject there at that the amazing thing about Cleveland, especially in Tremont, it is without a doubt, next time you come, Colin, every single Tremont bar or location has one right in the window still.
Really?
Everywhere. It's kind of amazing.
So I read somewhere that it's a sort of a evolution of the Nehi soda logo.
Yes, yeah. I think they were the ones who made the leg lamp.
Yeah. They don't exist anymore, I read.
So this is a thing before the movie was created then, is it?
Yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, cool.
I think
so they maybe he entered a Nehi soda competition and got a lamp out of it.
Right.
They never tell. Yeah, I think if you Google Nehi soda, you get like pictures of old bottles of Nehi and orange soda. And I think they were bought by somebody and then bought by Dr. Pepper or whatever, like everybody else. Like everything is owned by one organization now.
It's called Amazon, Colin. Yeah.
Yeah. Where are we in the yeah, they get the deal. Oh, the flat tire. Oh,
and the way
fudge.
Yeah.
I kind of like the way that he was very happy to go out and help his old man. Like, it's his first time helping his old man, so he's like getting the whole sort of adult job thing, but then he sort of messes up and the bolts go flying.
Yeah. It's kind of, that's very real, isn't it? It's I think everybody's experienced that moment where you've been asked to go help one of your parents with something and you've been trusted with something. Of course, you F it up. And then in this case, you blind an F and then you get in trouble for it.
Yeah, I like the way that obviously he goes home and has to eat the soap. The life boy.
Harsh.
I was always, the first time I remember seeing it, I was mad. I was like, I can't believe the dad told him, Mama, they really sold him out there.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking too. Like, I thought there might have been sort of a mail sort of transaction there where it wasn't brought back to the family unit, that sort of incident, because it was like a manly job. You know, it's like they're out there. People swear when they're working on their cars.
Yeah.
But it goes the other way later on, though. Where the mother does get the chance to throw him under the bus. She doesn't go with it.
Yeah.
Which I actually quite love.
Yeah, because she saw, like, I'm guessing Scott Farkas was a well-known lad around town.
He had it coming. And she decides not to throw him under the bus. He's had enough today.
Yeah, that was a really...
the moment that changed he said ever after that moment with his mother was different. I like that scene a lot.
Yeah, it's a really nice sort of emotional scene. And I think that might be the only sort of hit me in my feels in the Apart from the last scene, which is very nice, but that scene I think is when the mum around the kitchen table, and
I have
also
one other one. When the old man there's just a very subtle look, when later on when we get a Christmas gift. I really like that. That
Yes,
gets me.
that stands out for me as well. With the BB gun behind the table gift.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice little look he gives.
I just like just to bring it back when he has a bar of soap in his mouth and it's Life Boy and he sort of rats out Schwartz as the guy told him about it. I love the other mother's voice on the other end of the phone where where she where you can hear her saying probably from his father when she asks where do you think he heard this from, and you hear on the other end probably from his father. No, it was from your son. Then horrendously the son gets walloped on the other end of
Beating
the
around the
phone,
place. Yeah.
and the mother's just sort of like, oh, I'll just put the phone down and forget I heard about the punishment on the other end.
Yeah, these films, you watch them through the lens of 2020, almost five here. It's the dog's ear and the
Right.
hilarious
Yeah, or even cramming a lump of soap in somebody's face. Seems a bit harsh nowadays, but I suppose back in the day it would have been like that's a pretty light punishment.
Yeah, so a lot of the 90s movies that we've watched so far, like even just one word is said and it just derails the entire movie, going, oh, okay, that's not what we hear nowadays. And I went to a Dave Chappelle comedy gig recently, and obviously he's sort of this sort of landmark now for what's appropriate and what's funny. And
yeah,
yeah, anyway, that's another story and another discussion.
a whole nother podcast, right?
Another
Yeah.
podcast. Yeah. Why does he give a huge bowl of fruit to his teacher?
I think he's buttering her up. He's just hoping that he'll get that A plus 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 plus.
Yeah, he has a little daydream as he's handing it over, and he expects the plaudits and everybody's clapping and cheering him on. Yeah, I think in some way he's expecting it to help him get the BB gun. I'm not sure how he's made that connection in his mind, but he has. Uh,
You think
Obviously, that's mental.
you think that he really wants that A plus for his what I want for Christmas story, and then he can show that Christmas story to his parents, so that link is going
Yeah.
back to getting the BB gun.
That's my take on it. Yeah,
kind of like when
really
he's
desperate for that gun.
he's dreaming that he's turned because of the soap. He's become blind, and they would they would.
I
Feel
love that.
guilt.
That's yeah. We just skipped over that scene, but I love that daydream where his dad says, "What does his dad say? I have it's. Oh yeah, what what brought you to this lowly state?" He asks him as if it's a Shakespearean drama.
Soap poisoning.
Yeah, soap poisoning. We should not
Yeah.
use that, Life Boy. Uh, yeah. So, but actually, after the fruit, he gets his decoder pin in the mail. I love the way when he checks the mail twice. I think first time nothing's there, he just leaves the mail in there. He doesn't get it for the family or anything.
I know, he leaves a post box open as well. Runs for it.
And then the second time when his decoder is actually in the mailbox, he sort of rummages through, puts it back, drags out this big envelope, and just chucks it away and chucks out all the rest. And yeah, he wasn't doing a chore there, that's for sure. I like there's a lot of there's the tension scene is where he's in the bathroom decoding it. It's quite ramped up tension. Like there's no other tense scene in the movie. This is like your only rush of adrenaline in the movie is when Randy needs to use the bathroom outside and he's sort of decoding everything. And that's actually quite well produced because we do see the first few words being written out by him. Be sure to. Then it's like we don't see it. Then we just see him constantly like working on it and the little dial of the thing. Then we finally see the entire sentence. Be sure to drink your Ovaltine.
I do like that he
about
gets
50 liters. Yeah.
you have these small houses, so that was kind of another thing for like if you grew up in the area, you have all these tiny houses, and the only place a boy could get a moment was in the restroom.
I think that hasn't changed. It's just it's the same. It's the same for every boy. Just get into the bathroom just to get a moment's rest.
Right.
We do. Oh yeah. So this is the other dramatic moment where we do have the smashing of the lampshade. Did she do it on purpose or not, John?
Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
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 You can look at her face as she's walking towards the lamp, holding the watering can to do the watering of the plants, and you can see in her face she's going to smash that damn.
It had to
And she
go.
does. He comes up from the furnace covered in soot and ash, and I like just the way he says, "Get the glue." Don't have any. Yeah. So we do. So yeah, he does try to mend it, but doesn't work out. And she's smiling, she's laughing in the background.
Right.
Who covers her face when he turns around, which is good. Anyway, we have another sort of landmark of the thing is when Ralphie's coming home from school and gets a snowball to the face, and he goes napalm on Scott Farkus's head.
Yeah.
Yeah. As he's pummeling him into the ground, though, he's swearing like his father, which is another nice touch.
Yeah, he's all sorts of gibberish, and I read that was scripted word for word, but Dad's gibberish wasn't. So
I read that it's a pretty good acting scene. You know, sometimes, like as you were saying, it's over the top, but when Ralphie gets hit with that snowball, you really feel like that was a breaking point. So I think they had been nailing him all morning, and that one they got on tape. That was pretty good.
I think before this, when he gets the C plus, it's come to the head. Like he gets a C plus before that, and I think that just has said, "I'm not taking crap anymore. This is not going right for me." This whole
what I love about
story.
the C plus is that it's not just the C plus, but then in red underneath she writes, "Also, you'll shoot your eye out with that," and then he's like, "Arr."
Yeah, that and the Ovaltine, the corporation.
Yeah.
It's all coming together at a hit.
Farkas just chose the wrong time.
Yeah, it's totally just culminates in his just saying, "I'm sick of everything that has come across me now."
He took down the other bully too. I do like it. He's like, "I'm going to tell my dad."
Yeah.
Yeah, one push and that bully's just going to tell his dad. Yeah, so mom has to come and pick up Randy, and Randy's emotionally spent. He's crying, and it's sort of sad to see the way he is. I think all the stress of not getting the BB gun and everything else has just culminated into this outpouring of outright violence onto Scott Farkus's body.
I heard Peter. I heard the actor once saying, again, if this would have been made today, the mother just doesn't even look at Farkus. She just really zones in on her son, and it would have been like a life lesson today. They were like, "Let's go have ice cream and learn a little bit about each other."
No,
it's more of a product of like the '40s. Like, this is the way we do it.
I totally picked up. On that. She just doesn't even mention he exists. Or are you okay, son?
I have it written down here. She ignores Farkus's corpse. She just danders off, which is fair enough.
Farkus does look like he's been taken down a peg or three. He's
bloodied.
His hunting cap is off, so he's sort of lost his sort of menace. He doesn't have the sneer anymore. He's sort of, maybe he didn't bully after this. Although doesn't he turn up on the sequel, A Christmas Story Christmas? Did you watch that?
Yeah.
It's not a very evolved movie.
Yeah, right. But not quite the same. Yeah, just didn't have that. I think it was
set a few years after, I assume.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ralphie's played by the same character. The character is played by the same actor. He just grown up and
in the 70s now.
Okay.
Yeah, and a couple of people show up from this movie, but unfortunately, yeah. I just who played his the actress from Airplane played his mother, right, in the sequel. I just
can't think of her name all of a sudden, but yeah, she's really good.
Yeah, I just thought she played the mother not the best.
I did. Yeah, it didn't buy it either. It just it felt a little bit wooden. And I've liked her before. She's been in Albert Brooks films, and she's really good. But yeah, that one didn't feel right.
No, she sort of came across like her character in Airplane a little bit. Just a very.
That's not a terrible thing at all.
Yeah, but it wasn't a good. It wasn't a comedy. It wasn't. It wasn't
Okay.
slapstick. It was just
Phoned it in.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we get this this whole tension before Dad comes home. Ralphie's in his room crying, and Randy's hiding under the sink.
I love that bit. And I love these crying because Daddy's gonna kill Ralphie.
Yeah, and so you see the dinner table. It's sort of like he just constantly is asking, "So what happened today? So what happened today?" As if he's sort of sensing something has happened, but the mother sort of just goes, "Yeah, he was in a fight. That's pretty much it. What about those bears, huh?"
I love the way the concept of the son getting in the fight is like, it's fine, it's normal.
The dad gets distracted though. He gets distracted by he knows it's not serious because she's just mentioning it flippantly. But he's going. He does say something here, and I really wanted something like he said. His friend was going to the Bears game. Oh, he's going to freeze his quiche off or whatever word he uses. Then he says, "Oh, I wish I had some tickets." I was like, "That's what he wants for Christmas." The old man. He wants tickets to the Bears, and he doesn't get it. He gets a bowling ball to his groin. Yeah. So we get to the parade, and this is outside. This is really in Cleveland Square, right? Because I remember that statue. What's that statue in the center called?
It's Soldiers and Sailors Monument there, yeah, and that's been there for 1896. So yeah, that's they shot that scene, because it was the 80s. They shot it at like 3 o'clock in the morning so they could be able to kind of cover some of the other things that were going on in the downtown center at that time. So I thought they did a good job of like kind of putting the camera in the right spots to make it feel like, and that was a big thing in Cleveland back in the day. The Christmas parade from like the 40s and 50s, 60s, that was a huge thing in town here.
Does it happen anymore?
They do like the lighting of the trees and the buildings, not so much a parade anymore.
I read like a lot of the car collector people came together and populated the scene. What about the tram? There was a tram in the scene. Was there a tram line back then?
Yeah, there
in the
was.
40s?
Back in the day, yeah, Cleveland had that like right across like the Detroit Superior Bridge downtown, right where they filmed that. But yeah, so they hit that pretty well too, I thought. I mean, it really did a good job of like setting. Like I always look at through that lens of like such a small budget. Like there was no snow the whole winter in Cleveland. They really manufactured that to look really well.
Yeah. So when did the tram line doesn't exist obviously anymore in Cleveland, right?
We tried to destroy everything that was good here and put in parking lots. It's kind of our thing.
Well, in our hometown, like all the way out to where my family lives, there was a train track.
Yeah.
I don't know if you
They
knew
ripped
that,
that
but
up.
that was from Dundalk town all the way out to
Meath.
Carlingford area where the hotel was we were at, and that was like gone 50s maybe it got rid of. Just unbelievable that it could have been a train commute.
Yeah,
It would have been so
they
nice.
ripped it up for the iron for some reason. Like crazy.
To make some armaments, I'm guessing, for
Yeah.
certain wars. Anyway, we're in Higbee's. In growing up, was there always a Santa in the department store there, or no?
Always, yeah.
Like in your time?
Yeah, definitely. All the way until like sort of like 1990, it was a huge thing to go downtown still. And we had a big thing. It was called Mr. Jingling. It was kind of a Santa-esque character that's local lore and was really big in Cleveland. So you go to Higbee's to see Mr. Jingling. He was the keeper of the keys, like a low rent Santa, but it was really popular here forever for like 40 years, and that's
Wow.
why you went to Higbee's.
And what's Mr. Jingling was what, Santa's cousin or something, or
Yeah, he's like, they call him the keeper of the keys. It's just something that the corporation kind of drummed up, and it caught a little fire, so they just kept it going. There was goes back to the 50s.
what did he dress like?
Kind of like a deranged elf,
Jesus.
yeah. the
Nice,
best I
nice.
could describe it.
Was he a little bit friendlier than the Santa in this movie? Because this guy seemed a bit abrupt.
He was a hardcore one, yeah. No, he was nicer to the kids.
So we have this scene where so this scene where they're going up, that wasn't what it was like seeing Mr. Jingling in
It'd be
the Barn
interesting if
Store.
I would ask, because it'd be interesting, like, to ask my mom, who grew up in downtown Cleveland as well, like to see, was how close was this? But I remember watching it with relatives and my uncle back in the day, and they said pretty close to what it was like, especially the bustling nature of how the mall was sort of really the city kind of center where people, just you didn't have any online shopping, so this was the jam.
Yeah, and I love the way it's just they're so busy. They just manhandle all the kids. They just yoink,
Yeah.
twist around, plonk. What do you want? Get out. So yeah, this Santa is a piece of work, and he looks a bit drunk, to be honest with you. He's got the whole red nose
He
going
wants to
on.
get out by 9 o'clock, and there's a queue, so he ships through them quick.
It looks like
you don't get many films like nowadays where you would kick a kid in the face to get rid of.
I know, boot in the face.
Yeah,
it's not. It's well shot. I loved it.
I love his ending, or his parting line to the kid though as well. It's you'll shoot yourself in the face or in the eye with it.
Shoot your eye out, kid.
Yeah.
I have to give a shout out to the kid in front of them. I like Santa. I like Wizard of Oz. I like Tin Man.
that kid, he was a master thespian. I don't know who that kid was too, but he was always my favorite. I'm like, man, this kid is a mess. And I like Ralphie's reaction to him, like, what the hell are you talking? Just so good.
Ralphie comes across as so adult in his response to his sort of weird kid vibes. He's like, yeah. And then the Wicked Witch comes up and he goes, I don't have time for this. Go bother somebody else.
I think Ralphie's just a reincarnation of his dad, effectively.
Yeah.
He's a slightly smaller version of his dad.
He definitely has that thread.
He's in the line and he's just overthinking and he's just really just trying to figure out what he has to say. And he gets there and just blanks because he's in a mental turmoil, basically.
Do you want a football? Yeah, football.
Yeah. Football.
Yeah, it'd be interesting now if you watch the film, if you'd give it another chance, like down the line, because there's things like when I first watched it, where like flashbacks or the imagination of Ralphie just didn't capture me the first times, and now as I grow older, I like it more. I don't know what it is, just maybe growing up with the film, but it would be interesting if you would watch it again, if you soften your take or you would see things different. I would be interested. So just keep watching it.
Yeah,
okay.
Every day.
Once a year. I'll do it once a year, every time at Christmas.
No, every day up until
every
Christmas.
Day until I agree to like it as my favorite Christmas movie.
I do like the I do like when he stops himself when he gets thrown down the slide. He stops himself, comes back up, and then, as you said, he says he wants the BB rifle, and you see the POV from Ralphie's side when the big Santa boot just goes down into his face. Schlonk. And so him and Randy are just sitting down at the bottom of the slide in a zombie-like state when they get picked up. So we have Christmas Eve and Christmas Day happening. It's the two scenes, and it's old man. He just comes down and he's just out of it. He just doesn't have the Christmas spirit. The mom is so happy and so delighted to see all the gifts being opened up, and he's just there going, just wiping his face and just still asleep, and totally like every dad, I guess.
Yeah,
he does come across a little bit hungover. I'm not sure if that's what they're going for, but that's how I feel with a bit of a hangover on a Christmas morning.
Yeah, so Aunt Clara's gift is another iconic scene. So growing up in Cleveland, did people dress up for Halloween?
Sure. It's a huge Halloween costume here, and
was it?
Yeah, they have a Playhouse Square. They do every year. There's a Christmas Story play where they put on the production of the film, and kids just dress up in the pink nightmare outfits en masse. So yeah, it's a big thing here.
The deranged Easter bunny.
Right.
Yeah, you gotta have the faces on each foot as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the dad in this scene just sells the movie for me. He's just mumbling to himself, "Oh, no tie this year," things like that. Uh, so yeah, I think as well. I think you're both right. I think when they're sort of vibing after it, and he's like, "Oh, did you check over there? What's that behind the desk?" And when he's opening up the BB gun, I think that's the only time Old Man is genuinely happy. He's just smiling and he's gleeful that he's given him something that he really wanted. And
I had a
yeah,
BB gun when I was 8, he says to the wife.
yeah, I think he's reliving his own youth, perhaps, and just I don't know. I think because it's a little dangerous too. I think it's just a perfect gift that he wants to give as well.
Yeah,
I
I think
just think
maybe
that was
like
the moment, like like you get to see that. I mean, everybody always has had. I think that's why this film like kind of has the legs it has, and way past Cleveland, it's a huge thing. And TBS plays it 24 hours, every year. I think it's because we all wanted that one Christmas. Like I wanted a Transformer one time. I think everybody always wanted one thing in their history. So I think that meant a lot to a lot of people.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think it's just it's a subtle telling of a family's Christmas that's really not that far from fact for a lot of people, apart from the next scene where the Bumpus's dogs come in, which I find very funny.
yeah, yeah. And that's actually a nice enough scene as well, because the father, instead of freaking out and start screaming and losing his mind, he just smiles and goes, "Okay, everybody, upstairs, put your clothes on. We're eating out today."
Right, not yeah.
Yeah, so he doesn't get angry, which is a fantastic reaction. It wasn't what I was expecting, actually.
Yeah, it's like a bonus scene too. You'd think that'd be the end, and you get a little
Yeah,
more, epilogue.
A little bit more. One thing when Ralphie goes out, he does injure himself with the BB gun after all the
Right.
warnings.
Yeah,
He
shoots
does
himself in
actually
the eye.
he does actually shoot himself in the eye. But that's fine. It's not really. It's sort of like it's a nice little addition to the story where all the warnings came through, but he had to sort of warp the truth a little bit just so he could get past it with his
Yeah,
mum.
it wasn't
And
the
the
BB
mum,
gun; it was the icicles that got him.
yeah, could have taken your eye out. Yeah, so
he
the
does,
Bumpus is
he does break the fourth wall there too.
He
And,
does the smile towards the camera.
uh,
Yeah,
the film is. When I was reading about this too, they were saying it's the great screenwriter Robert McGee was saying there's like only three ways to make a film, except for this weird anomaly called Christmas Story, where the narrator is in the past and in the present and breaking the fourth wall. So it is like a unique, bizarre film in that way.
it comes out of nowhere, the fourth wall, and
it does. Yeah,
I'm not a big fourth wall fan, but whatever. It's a Christmas story. It's sort
you'll
of
allow it.
I'll allow it this once. So yes, we do, as you said, John, get this little extra Christmas dinner scene. Is bowling real?
It's that one was Toronto, so it is funny though. It feels so very Cleveland. They do such a because like a Chinese / bowling place is so Cleveland. Like right now we just have a polka Hall of Fame with a softball Hall of Fame down the road here. It's just like these bizarre combos. But that one was Toronto, I think.
Nobody has made it in the decades since the movie. Like it's
Not yet.
hey.
Give me ideas for retirement plan.
Yeah. So we're in 2024. We laugh at this scene. Are we okay to laugh at this scene, or what's the deal?
I did find it funny, but I also felt guilty about finding it funny. It did feel a bit laughing about somebody's pronunciation of a word because of their ethnicity is a bit. Yeah, I don't know. Still funny.
Yeah, it's a hard one. Like you said, I don't think this would have been done another time. But something about the way it's done and the laughter of like one of the gentlemen, you can see he's kind of like. I think it's played pretty well as you can without, so yeah, it would have been made today, no way. But I didn't get the like you're saying in other films. Now we watch, you're like, oh my god,
Yeah. No, it's nothing like other films we've seen recently enough. Like this is innocent. It's a bit naive, maybe, but it's innocent.
I think the fact that the manager of the restaurant corrects them and pronounces it correctly and then tries to get them to do it, it adds a little layer of we're in this together, we're sort of laughing in the same direction because there's an acknowledgement that they're saying it wrong.
Yeah, like the sort of the conceit is already that it's a culture clash of Christmas and duck and turkey, so it kind of works.
It does, but
I love the duck that comes out now in a second, and when the father says, "Oh, I don't know, it's smiling at me," so the manager resolves the problem by taking out a cleaver and lopping its head off, which is a wonderful sign.
And I read that the actress didn't know that this was going to happen,
Really?
so her reaction is totally natural. And you can see Randy, the actor who plays Randy, is totally getting into it too because he's kind of reacting to her, and he's quite excited. Yeah, I think it's very authentic, and it's a funny scene. And I think you're right. It's this. We hear jingle bells at the start of the movie, and then we hear it from another culture's background, and I think there's enough sort of core strength in it that I don't feel that I was laughing at something that was offensive. But hey, some people may find it offensive in 2024. That's pretty much the last big hit of the movie. We just get a very nice mom and old man just sitting down beside the illuminated Christmas tree. I thought the first time I watched it, the fuse was going to blow, just to make it a little National Lampoons type. And then we finish off with just Ralphie in his bed with his BB gun beside him, falling off to sleep.
Nice, sweet ending, I thought.
The best present he ever got in his whole life.
Right.
Yeah. It's very nice ending. Has there, so over the years, decades, whatever, in the library, has there been exhibitions or anything organized for a Christmas Story?
Yeah, we worked with, they just did the 40th anniversary, I think just a year ago, and that was a big thing in town, and worked with the film commission because they were looking for old posters and books and things that they could highlight, and they brought the full cast to the city and had sort of discussions about Clark. Unfortunately, he passed away, the director, kind of in a car accident with his son, which is rough. So he couldn't be there. But I think, just the amazing love of the film that 40 years later they're gathering here still, and it's like a tourist thing for Cleveland. So yeah, we've done. I'm sure there'll be more for the 50th.
Yeah. So do you think it brings substantial numbers to Cleveland from out of state or out of city?
Yeah,
or
I've known a couple of my staff members actually work there at the Christmas Story, and I would ask them this. I'm like, "How busy?" And like, you'd be surprised. There, people from all over the globe will come here. So it does bring in a pretty steady business all year. I was kind of skeptical, but yeah, I know one woman who worked there for like 8 years. She knew way too much. She's like, "Please don't ask me about this film."
Had enough of it. Doesn't want to watch it again.
Right.
Do you think A Christmas Story is sort of, for want of a better phrase, sort of brought Cleveland along sort of the decades where Cleveland was down on its luck a bit, or do you think it's sort of kept it in the cultural sort of sphere a bit? While other like say the sports teams weren't doing as well over the years.
Yeah, there's like four decades of that. Yeah. I think it's just if you're from here, you get it. If you're from Northeast Ohio, you're like really all in. But from people across, America, they might look at Cleveland a little bit different or a little bit like sweeter because of the film. I mean, and it is there's been a lot of, like, we just shot the Avengers, Captain America. There's been a lot of changes here. We've had some duds too. Like 1990 was we had Double Dragon was shot here. That was after Christmas Story, and that was a super stinker. You guys, you got to watch that one just for how bad it is. But yeah, I think people have a good feel of Cleveland because of that film.
Yeah, I played Double Dragon so much in the arcades growing up. Do you know of anybody, or have you ever talked to anybody who are extras in the movie at all? Locals?
I'm trying to think if there's a lot of people. It's like like if someone, it's all kind of nonsense. So like, there was like one perfect game thrown at Cleveland baseball, and 6,000 people were really there, but 80,000 said they were. And so you hear that. I was in the background. I'm like, sure you were, buddy. So you just kind of
take another drink.
Yeah.
You're in your 20s. You couldn't have been your life.
Right.
Who threw the perfect game in Cleveland Stadium?
Large Lenny Barker, 1981, right around that time. It was like one of the 20 only perfect games in baseball history. So yeah, but we had no one come to see that team for literally 40 years.
It's coming back. It's coming back after last season's run.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was a good run. Niall, any questions from your end regarding its impact at all? You mentioned the marathons and stuff, so that's like a yearly thing.
Yeah, I think
start
just to
at
bring
the house.
attention. Yeah, like I've ran the Christmas Story 5K. I walked pretty much.
You dressed as the bunny rabbit?
No, but that's pretty much a lot of people do the characters.
Nice.
Run with their dogs. So they're constantly, I think, trying to keep the spirit of the film alive and doing special things there.
Yeah. So Niall, your sort of overall culminating feelings after watching the movie.
Now, I will say that when I said that I was disappointed based on what you built it up to be, doesn't mean that I found it a bad movie. It's a reasonably good Christmas movie. It's just not in my top 5, if you will. So there's nothing wrong with this movie per se. I have a few gripes. And I found a lot of the characters very endearing, specifically the old man, who reminds me of myself quite a lot. Grumpy, middle-aged fecker. But it's not a bad movie. I'm a bit annoyed my kids decided not to watch it with me. It might have give us a different perspective on the movie. But it's okay. It's a good movie.
I think it's weird that it's set in the 40s and it just feels nostalgic to me, but it shouldn't because it's from the 40s. But I think I grew up in a house it was quite old house, and I think it was probably from the 50s or whatever. So a lot of the furnishings and stuff really reminded me of my childhood as Christmas. And
1970s, 1980s Ireland is the same as 1940s, 1930s America.
Well, I think
it's not that far off. Actually,
no, I think it's actually quite accurate because we got our house done up in 1989 maybe, but before that, like that house had been built in the 20s perhaps, and our kitchen was the size of a freaking telephone box, and there was a lot of clunky things that go wrong in it, like the furnace for the old man. And so I think I found a little connection.
The house had character.
The house was a hellhole, maybe not full character, but maybe that's the same thing. Like that, maybe that's John. That's maybe another connection for people in Cleveland that resonate with it.
100%. Yeah, like I had the same thing, like plugging in and like getting like shocked because we just not enough power. That happened to me growing up, where I was in super small places.
Yeah. I think that's sort of. I think there's nothing really. A lot of Christmas movies will try and teach you something. Will have a very like It's a Wonderful Life or whatever. So like, yeah, you live your life again, or A Christmas Carol. Yeah, you live your life again. All this sort of very broad life lessons. This is just Die Hard.
Yeah. This one's right to the point. It's not drooping with sentimentality. It's kind of the real deal, kind of Midwest, and I think they did a good job the way I think the author stories were.
Yeah, have you read the stories? The first?
No, I never have. I've read about the director Clark listening to some of his stories on the radio and was so taken. He's like, I have to work with this guy because he really could spit a yarn.
I read that it was like 10 years in the making this movie, I think.
Yeah.
And his short stories, they were like weird names and stuff.
Yeah,
like, there was just long names.
Yeah,
I can't pick the names out of my head right now, but it's just weird long names. But they're short story collection. Yeah. So this is the part of the show where Niall and I rate the movies out of 5. You probably don't want to be part of that, or else you might get accosted on the streets of Cleveland if you give it less than 5.
I'll let you guys go and do that. Yeah.
Yeah. This is kind of hard for me. I haven't even wrote it down yet. So Niall, I'm sure you've rated. So what for a plot? What are you giving it out of 5?
I give it 2.5. It's a reasonable yarn. It's nothing overly complex and nothing overly surprising, but it is a nice, warm family story about a specific Christmas in the life of a young boy. And for that, it's quite nice. Like the 2.5, in my opinion, is not a terrible score. So for what it is, I think, yeah.
Yeah, I'm giving it 3 just because of what I just said earlier. I made a connection with it. I think the plot line is simple. There's nothing too deep with it, but that's the magic of it. I think it hits all the right buttons for a Christmas movie, and good on him. Acting, I've written down something, but I might change it. So you go ahead.
I have 2.75 down. I love the dad in this. The kid has me mixed feelings about him. Sometimes I love like his the acting he does when he's been pulled away by his mother from the fight. I think that's brilliant. I think he does a great job there. Some of his stuff I might be a little bit harsh on a child, but is a little bit childish. So he's not the best child actor I've ever seen. He's not bad though. Aside from that, the mum's actually pretty good as well. So I'm not seeing any Oscar performances here, but it's still quite good. So 2.7.
Yeah, I gave it 3. I think the more times I've watched it, the more I really appreciate the old man's performance. And you're right. I think the mum as well plays it really well, just sort of holding down the fort, typical mum of the house. And I think the kid actors are pretty good. I think his crying was quite authentic and real, and Randy is just a unique character who sort of mashes potatoes. Oh, actually, I read this is the second movie where the actress has mashed potatoes because she was in Close Encounters. She's got a mashed potato duo of movies.
In that one, though, it's her husband building the mountain out of the mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah. No piggies in
no piggies in that movie.
Yeah. So I'm Brackett's track and giving 3 because it's I don't know, it's just full of classical music. There's like Tchaikovsky in there. There's just lots of Christmas carols. So I just gave it 3. I didn't really think about it.
I'm going to poo-poo on the music a little bit.
That's fine.
This is where I'm going to be a bit Grinch. Like the music is actually pretty good. You've got the classical stuff. That's great. The classic Christmas stuff. But some of the music during his flashbacks, where it's a bit 1930s, 1940s, just, I don't know, it kind of annoyed me. So if I'm going to be a Grinch, I'm going to be a Grinch about that bit.
And what are you giving it?
I'm going to give it 2.
Yeah, I think it goes back now that, John was saying that Bob Clark was a fan of these 20s westerns and everything. That's his little love letter, I guess, to that genre with that music. But yeah, it's always come across as a little bit weird, but that's the way it is. Production, I'm giving 4 because it's set in Cleveland and it's they do everything right. It makes it look like a Midwestern town. The interior and everything is all well done. So 4 out of 5 for production.
I have a 3 down for prod. It's very, in keeping with the time. There was a mention of somebody wearing a wristwatch in the school.
Really?
I can't remember what cartoon character was on the wristwatch, but it wasn't for the time. But apart from that, like everything is quite, I'm assuming, period appropriate. So it's quite good in that respect. So I like
there wasn't a lot of goofs listed on IMDb. Oh, this thing wasn't. But there's just, as you said, John, earlier, nobody knows what year it's supposed to be set in. They're saying, all right, this TV show, Little Orphan Annie, was from this year to this year, and
they purposely made it nebulous.
Yeah. There's a 20-year sort of gap where it needs to exist, but beyond that, we don't know.
Yeah, and somebody said, isn't it 1 year? It's a culmination of different life stories together. So just forget about it. It's based on a whole mishmash of life stories from the author anyway. So anyway, all right. So shall we set the dogs on our turkey and finish this episode?
Stick
right
your leg out
here?
and let them chew on it for one last second, and we'll move on.
Yeah. All right, so just give us a second, John. We just have to randomly choose our next movie. If you want to come along for the next episode, if it's Double Dragon, you can you can stick around.
Double Dragon, yeah.
Yeah, you can tell us all the sights of Cleveland, and you can start doing a Double Dragon tour of Cleveland. That would be cool. Yeah, so we're. Oh, actually, sorry. Before I leave, just before we do that, there's a couple of critics' reviews of A Christmas Story. I just want to do. Catherine G in the Telegraph gave it 60 out of 100. She says, director Bob Clark, fresh, if that's the word, from the juvenile hijinks of Porky's and Porky's 2, oversees a rather more family-friendly outing with this charmingly nostalgic 40s set comedy in which 9-year-old Ralphie is very specific in a believably 9-year-old way about what he wants for Christmas. It's very descriptive. And then the Boston Globe, Jake Carr gave it 100. It's from 1983, this review. In short, A Christmas Story isn't just about Christmas, it's about childhood, and it recaptures a time and place with love and wonder. It seems an instant classic, a film that will give pleasure to people not only this Christmas, but for many Christmases to come. They're talking about you, Niall.
Every Christmas.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to randomly roll for next week. Next week is New Year's Eve. So we're going to randomly pick a movie that I've generated from ChatGPT on New Year movies that are based around New Year's. So let's roll the dice and do that. And we're going to get movie number, 21 from our list. And it is Trading Places from 1983. Have you watched that movie, John?
Absolutely. So many times.
Never heard of it. I don't know what you're talking about.
The summary on Metacritic is Billy Ray Valentine, Murphy, a street con man, and Lewis Winthorpe III, a commodities broker, Aykroyd, agree to trade places. No, they don't. After moneyed Mortimer Duke meets Billy Ray, could pull in more money than Lewis could on the streets. This summary was terrible from what I remember from watching it back.
Billy Ray might have agreed to trade places, but the other guy not so much.
Winthorpe III did not agree to it.
No.
That's for sure. All right, that'll be episode 92, and we'll see you in that one. John, thank you so much for giving the Cleveland.
Me. Loving the podcast. Yeah, I really liked Con Air, and that was the last one I heard. And thanks for having me for this.
Bunny connection, Bunny in this movie.
Put the bunny back in the box, baby.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you in the next episode. Thanks again, John. Bye-bye.
Take care.
John.